right, if you are anything like me, this last year I have learned a ton about myself. I've been able to identify some things that add value to my life while also identifying things that kind of drain energy or don't add value to my life. And when I feel like I just need a good recharge, right, like you've had a long week, long 2 weeks, long month of work or family stuff's crazy at home, you've got to be able to identify something in your life that can add value, that can kind of refresh you and recharge you. And for me, it's a little bit, three main things that help add value to my life. I'm gonna share those with you so you can start getting those wheels turning and thinking, what are some things that add value or give me life, refresh me, recharge me as I rest? For me, number one, you give me 15 minutes to take a nap and I'm good to go. A 15-minute recharge nap. I know a lot of people, you might be looking at me, judging me right now. Oh, you nap, you're so lazy. No, give me 15. I don't need a 4-hour nap. I need 15 minutes. If it's longer than 25, I'm done for the rest of the day. But you give me 15-minute power nap, I'm good to go. That recharges, kind of refreshes my brain, gets me going a little bit better. The second thing for me is anything outdoors. Anything, even yard work. Like I enjoy mowing the yard. I enjoy gardening. I enjoy doing anything outdoors, really, woodworking, whatever it is. You give me some time out in the sun with a project, and for me, it just adds life to me. And I know some of you are like, that sounds terrible. I hate mowing the grass. That is not me. That's cool. Just get those wheels turning and start thinking, what are some things that add value to your life? And the third thing for me that I really rediscovered during this past year is cooking. I love to be in the kitchen and cook up some type of dish or meal, or I'm not really good at desserts or baking, but I can cook some stuff up on the flat iron. I can cook stuff up in the kitchen using my cast iron, all that fun stuff, scrolling through TikTok, finding recipes. For me, being in the kitchen and cooking and providing a meal and setting all that up for my family just adds this life. It just kind of gives me this energy, rejuvenates my mind and my spirit, and it's just awesome. And so for you, you might be sitting there like, all three of those things sound terrible. I don't like taking naps, keep me inside away from the bugs and the sun, and I can't even make toast. Like what? But that's cool. Like I said, get those wheels started. What are some things that add value to your life? Because it's pretty easy to identify the things that drain life from us. It's pretty easy to take a look and see our scheduled out week and realize that, oh man, that meeting is going to drain every ounce of energy or desire I have to do anything for the rest of the week. But sometimes we get so caught up, it's difficult, it's hard to think about rest and taking care of ourselves so that we can live life to the fullest. So today, as we dive into another week of how to win from within, think of those things. What are some things in your life that can add value, that can add rest as you walk with Jesus?
We live in a world where it seems like time has sped up. May not feel that way to you. To me, it just feels like it is flying by. I was reading some stuff this week and it kind of reflected back a little bit to some technology issues. It says, think back to the year 2010. Apple had just released its first iPad, like my iPad here. It feels like it was a lot longer ago than 2010 for me. As a matter of fact, Pinterest and Instagram had barely launched, and just 1 in 4 mobile phone users had a smartphone. 2010, 1 in 4 had a smartphone. So many of you watching this right now, you're watching it on your smartphone, and it's hard to even remember a time you didn't. Crazy thing is your kids probably don't even remember a time, if you have kids that are younger especially, they may not even remember a time when you didn't have a smartphone, that there were phones, but they were stupid phones. They couldn't do anything but like call and text, and sometimes you had to push the same number over and over to get to the letter you want. It was just bonkers. 2010, 1 in 4 had a smartphone. It goes on to say in the year 2000, Microsoft conducted a study measuring how long people could focus on one thing for a specific amount of time. Now, let me just stop for a second and say, this is an issue for you because if you're watching this today, you are already facing some pretty big challenges of how long you can hold your attention on one thing. Some of you are already gone. We're not 2 minutes in. In the year 2000, how long people could keep their attention on one thing. The results showed that the average person's attention span was 12 seconds. Come back and listen. I said the average person's attention span is 12 seconds. They did the same test, the same result of looking for the same result 15 years later, and the number had dropped from 12 seconds to 8 seconds. The average American can keep their focus on one thing for about 8 seconds. For some of you, you feel like you're about half crazy, or people tell you you are. The truth is, it just probably means you're normal on this one. I'm supposed to try to figure out a way to hold your attention doing this, and about every 8 seconds, our mind is going somewhere else. I'm not saying it to make you feel guilty. I struggle with it too, but it is part of the reality of our culture today. To say the least, matter of fact, we'll just say it this way, there is a fight for the attention span of humankind. There is a struggle that goes on. If you have children, young children, you see it. If you have a dog or a cat or whatever, you see it. If you watch the birds fly around, it just seems like they're all over. They're spastic. But the truth is, for every one of us, we struggle with this issue of focusing ourselves. Now, we think it has just come with the course of technology or the course of time. Maybe not to the same degree, but it's always been a struggle. As a matter of fact, before God put human beings on the face of the earth, he saw this coming. He made some adjustments. So today I want to talk to you about a subject. We're in a series that is called Win Within. It's talking about how do we win within who we are, not just outward things, but the inward things. Now, we've been reading a verse week to week to week throughout this, and it says this in 2 Corinthians 4. It says, though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we're being renewed day by day. Now, I don't know what your age is, but you don't have to be very far along to feel like I may have passed my prime physically. Somebody told me when I was 29 years old, the guy was a couple of years older than me, and he goes, boy, once you pass 30, you'll find your body doesn't heal nearly as fast. And I just thought that was stupid. Partially because the guy that said it I thought was stupid, but mainly I just thought, like my body knows that the calendar has turned one more page, it doesn't know the difference. And then I just remember right after my 30th birthday, I was playing racquetball with some friends and had a little injury. And I just remember like 3 or 4 weeks later, it was still nagging me. And all of a sudden it hit me, I'm over 30, and he was right. I'm not going to tell him he was right, because then he would have been even more difficult to live with than he already was. But in my mind, I go, it really did seem to happen that way. Maybe not on an exact day for you, but our bodies do seem to go downhill. That part's easy to confirm. The second part, I wonder if it is. It says, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. Are we? Are you? Are you feeling renewed day by day? Well, maybe part of the issue comes back to where we started, to this thing of attention span, the ability to focus on one thing, especially one thing that matters, for more than a few seconds. My wife Leslie and I had a friend for years, and she used to come over our house, and when we were close, she had a young son named Tyler, and Tyler was active, and this woman was always involved. She always had 43 things going. While she was talking to you, you knew there were 14 other things she was probably not doing that she should be. And we'd be involved in all these conversations, and every now and then her little boy Tyler would get so frustrated, he would take both of his hands and he would put them on the sides of her face and turn her face toward him, and he would say, Mom, just look at me. And he was so exasperated because she was so busy everywhere else, and he was like, I just need your attention right now. I wonder if sometimes God must not look at us and say, listen, I have created you, I've made you, I've tried to provide for you everything you would need, I have furnished the earth with things that you can't even believe, I've blessed you with all the things that keep you busy, with all your technology in your car, in your house, in your jobs, and your things, all of the things that keep you busy. And really, I created you for my purpose. I wonder if sometimes he must want to go, just look at me. Well, actually, he did. He did that much earlier in humanity than you might guess, and that really is our subject for today. If you're going to win within, there's this one little thing that God has put in the Bible, and it's one of those things that even people who go to church all the time, even those who are super Christian, often just kind of throw this one away. As a matter of fact, it's one of the 10 Commandments. And nobody says, thou shalt not murder. I don't know. I just murder. Somebody may murder, but most people aren't just looking at it. The people who go to church every week, the people who are trying to serve God, they don't just ignore that one. Most of us don't go, lying, who cares? I'll just lie all I want. Most of us, even when we're not honest, we would agree that it's better to be honest. But there's one of those commandments. There's one mandate from God that a lot of us just go, I don't think that fits me, or maybe we just don't buy it. I don't know what the reason is, but it is the subject for today. Now, I read in a book a while back, a guy by the name of John Ortberg wrote the book, The Life You've Always Wanted. And he tells the story of creation. He kind of rewrites it his own way. It's his own version of it. It sounds like this. I'll just read it to you. It says, in the beginning, God went to work because it was 9 o'clock, and he had to. The first thing God did was fill out a requisition for him to separate light from darkness. That completed, God considered making stars to beautify the night and planets to fill the skies, but then he reconsidered. It sounded like too much work, and besides, God thought, that's not my job. So God decided to knock off early and call it a day. He looked at what he had done and said, it'll have to do. On the second day, God separated the waters from the dry land, and he made the dry land flat, plain, functional, so that, behold, the whole earth looked like Kansas. Now God thought about making mountains and valleys and glaciers and jungles and forests, but he decided it wouldn't be worth all that effort, and so God looked at what he had done on the second day, and he said, it'll have to do. And then God made a pigeon to fly in the air, and a carp to swim in the water, and a cat to creep upon the dry ground. God also thought about making millions of other species of all sizes and shapes and colors, but he couldn't drum up any enthusiasm for these other animals. As a matter of fact, he wasn't even too crazy about the cat. Besides, it was almost time for the late show, so God looked at all he had done, and he said, it'll have to do. And so it went on for the rest of the week of creation, and when it was all over, God was seriously burned out. So he breathed a big sigh of relief, and he said, thank me, it's Friday. And then God rested from all the labors on the Sabbath. Interesting way to look at it. I'm not sure it follows exactly the biblical narrative, but for a lot of people, the work of creation finishes at a weird place. And I think one of the most misunderstood things in all of the Bible. Genesis 2 says it this way. This isn't some other guy's writing. This is the way God gave it to us. So creation of the heavens and the earth and everything in them was complete. He finished for 6 days. He did, and then he was finished. And on the seventh day, God had finished his work of creation, and so he rested from all his work. I think it's such an interesting piece. There's this feeling that God did all of this work. I don't know, do you feel like God gets tired? I mean, like he was, at the end of that, he was like sweaty, took a quick shower, called it a day. I think there's this weird thing that because it says God rested, I think sometimes we feel like the reason God rested is just because he was tired. But nothing could be further from the truth. Rest in his world was not just a function of, these 6 days have been exhausting for me, I think I'm going to take a break. That's not what it was. It was a couple of things. One, that God was trying to teach us this rhythm to life that we need, that makes us more functional, that makes us more healthy. Now here's the problem. I said a lot of people, even who really believe the Bible, they just don't buy into this. Now if you ask them, they wouldn't say, I don't believe it. But if you looked at them, you would say, obviously, I don't believe it. By the way, how about you? On this one, that work for 6 days and then set aside one day, as the Bible called it, the Sabbath, I'll set aside that day to be physically and spiritually and emotionally refreshed. How do you do with that? Do you believe in it? Well, I believe in it. I just don't do it. Well, if you believe in it truly, then you probably act on it. And so for a lot of us, and I'd like to say a lot of you, what's the matter with you? Why aren't you doing it? The problem is, I really struggle with this too. As a matter of fact, even talking about it feels just a little disingenuous because this is one that is so difficult for me to find and keep that rhythm in my life. When I work at it, I find a little success, but often it is just interrupted by life. And so it gets harder and harder. He didn't rest because he was tired. He ceased. That's what the word means, to rest. He ceased what he was doing because it was complete. And in completeness, he stepped back away from it and looked at it and said, that's exactly what I was talking about. And that's why he stopped. It was completed. It was done. It was finished. Matter of fact, finished is such a great word in the Bible. It happens a couple of times in really key places. This is one of them. God stopped because he was finished or because it was completed. Genesis 2 keeps going. If we read just one verse later, it says, and God blessed the seventh day, and he declared it holy, because it was a day when he rested from all the work of creation. Now, it's one of those weird things. God blessed a day. He blessed and set it apart. To make holy means to set it apart. And then there's no more mention of this thing called the Sabbath for years, like 2,000 years passed before it's mentioned again. We never hear of Adam and Eve resting because there was nothing to really rest from, because everything was great. There was no sin. There was nothing to recover from. The work was easy. Everything was light. Matter of fact, for 2,000 years, it's not brought up, and it goes all the way through. If you're kind of familiar with the Bible, you probably are familiar with the children of Israel and their Exodus, and they're heading to the Promised Land. For 40 years, they kind of wander around. That's the next time we hear about this word or this thing called the Sabbath. And if you remember, God provided food for them every day. It was called manna. And they said, go out and get what you can eat, because whatever you don't get will be gone before tomorrow. But on the first seventh day, when they got up and there was no food. And what he told them is, I want you to take that day and set it aside for something more. I don't want you to go and work for it. Matter of fact, in Exodus 31:12, he says it this way, God spoke to Moses, tell the Israelites, above all, keep my Sabbaths. It is a sign between me and you, generation after generation, to keep knowledge alive that I am the God who makes you holy. In other words, I want you to use this day to remember that I have set you apart. I've made you special. That with me, it is finished, that you are mine, that you're okay as long as you can follow me. So he set it aside. Matter of fact, he told them, I want you to get everything you're going to need the day before, because on that day, I don't want you out scrounging around for your food. 3 words that we've mentioned. Hit them really quick. The first one is this. He said, the Bible says that he blessed that day. To bless means to give life. Weird things about the Bible. Maybe it's just weird to me, or maybe it's interesting to me and not to you, but I'll throw it out here for you anyway. In Genesis, he blessed 3 things. He blessed the animals, and he told the animals, I want you to go and multiply and fill the earth. So to bless was to give life. He also blessed people, Adam and Eve, and he blessed them, and he told them, I want you to go be fruitful and multiply. Some of you have really done well with that. It's one of your greatest accomplishments in life. I want you to be fruitful and multiply. He gave life. And then the weird thing is, the third thing he blessed, he created all of the stuff on the earth. You would have thought he would have blessed a place. But the third thing he blessed was time. It was a day. What an odd thing to choose. He said, I want you to understand this day is blessed. The second thing is, he said, it is holy. I made this day holy. I've set it apart. Once again, to set apart a day, to set apart time, is an unusual thing. Every religion in the world has a place they set apart. As a matter of fact, if you're Muslim, it's Mecca. If you're a Hindu, or in Hinduism, it's probably the Ganges River. If you're like a paganist, sometimes people go back to Stonehenge. If you're a Satan worshiper, it's a place called Wrigley Field. But everybody has the place, every religion has a place that is set apart, but God didn't set apart a place, he set apart a time. He said, I want to make this a set apart time for you to remember me generation after generation. They won't notice what you've done by your work ethic. They'll notice what you've done because you have made my time holy. You've given me focus. I want you to raise your kids to know that doing one more thing wasn't the goal. As a matter of fact, the stopping from things is what I want you to do. It's what will reflect in your kid's life down the road, even more than a great work ethic, a great home run swing, or whatever it is, the ability to bend the soccer ball around. Those are good things. But most importantly, I want them to stop from their activity long enough to know who I am. He blessed it. He made it holy or set apart. The third one is he said it was the word complete. It is settled. It is done. It is finished. We'll get to that one right before we're finished in just a couple of minutes. I think one of the greatest things that makes people struggle with this little issue, we call it a Sabbath. It's really saying that one time during the week, I'm going to stop from my activity and I'm going to do it to physically be replenished. I'm going to do it to mentally be refreshed. I'm going to do it to spiritually be revived. I'm going to stop. I'm going to cease. I'm going to plan to not do. We're not very good at that. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons is because we have this wonderful thing in our world. We call it FOMO. A lot of us have this disease. It is the fear that we're going to miss out. It is, if I stop right now, I'm going to miss out on something that I meant to experience. Some of us have it with our kids. We want our kids to have every great experience in life. And we have this fear. I have some friends that their kids were super involved in athletics, and their fear was, if I ever slow them down, they'll never be able to catch back up. It's going to kill their college scholarship. It's going to kill their future. It's going to mean they'll never be able to compete the way they compete. And I have built them so they compete, and this is a big part of their life, that FOMO piece. And it drove every decision they made. And man, I love athletics, and I love opportunity, and I love experiences. But when we reach this point where we're afraid we're going to miss something if we slow down, usually here's the ugly reality. People with FOMO always mow. They always miss out. The reason is that FOMO leads to sacrificing the essential for the immediate. Sometimes we're so busy doing, we don't recognize what we're not doing or what we're missing. You know, the scariest thing in life is when you're so busy that you don't even recognize that your busyness is costing you the most important things in life. A lot of us, our greatest regrets in life, hopefully not you, but I certainly would say for me, I don't have a million regrets in life, but one of my greatest regrets in life is that I have been so busy at times I forgot to recognize what I had. I was so busy getting somewhere. This is so in my personality that I can be so busy getting somewhere that I never am anywhere. That I never find time just to be happy where I am. If I'm on a trip, I so badly want to get there that where I am is never a good enough place. I never look around and say, this is great. What a cool thing. It is so difficult for me to calm my jets just enough to say where I am is a good place instead of always being focused on where I'm not or where I'm going. I know it is the American way. In America, more is the word that pushes most of us in what we do and what we accrue and how we live. More is important. Sabbath does not speak to more. As a matter of fact, Sabbath speaks to the word enough. John Mark Comer, in his little book called Garden City, he says it this way. I think it was really helpful when I read it. He says, Sabbath is a line in the sand, a shot across the bow. This far you shall go and no further. No more work, no more stuff, no more. Enough is enough. I do not have to work more. I do not have to buy more. I do not have to sell more. I do not have to move up in the company. I do not have to earn my Father's love. I don't have anything to prove. I do not have to get a perfect score. I do not need another stamp on my passport. I do not need another bay in my garage. I do not need to be younger or more beautiful or have flatter abs, although that one would be nice. I don't need to have my kids in ballet or soccer all year round. I don't need to make everybody happy. I don't need to get everything I want. There is no quota. The slave drivers that go on are the ones in my head. My value does not come from what I produce, and my joy and my peace don't rise and fall with my net worth. I am free. I'm a part of a different kingdom now with a different king. And when I read those words, those are inspiring and frustrating to me because it is so easy for me to be so caught up with what's next that I have a hard time being complete in what I am now. And the reason God put me on this earth, the reason Jesus came to set me free, is free from those things. And one of the things that Sabbath, or setting aside a time to rest, to reflect, and be refreshed, one of the things it does is it allows those things to come back into view. They're really important things. Can I ask you, is there a time in your life where you just purposely set aside time, focus to be refreshed and renewed? Now, I grew up in a family where we talked about that a lot, where we preached about that a lot. But honestly, for some people, that means resting. Like, I'll take a nap. A Sunday afternoon nap. That's almost in the Bible. Let me just say, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but I'm saying there's more to it than I'm going to take a nap. There's more to it than I'm going to get a good night's rest, although physical rest is a huge part of setting aside time so that we can be healthy, whole, and ready for what God has next for us. Rest is a piece of it, but there's more. There's more to it. It is finding things that bring life back into me. It is finding things that refresh and energize and refocus me. So here's some things for a lot of people. There's reasons they don't do that. Matter of fact, I've talked to people the last couple of weeks because I knew this subject was coming, and I just said, how do you do this? Most people are like, oh man, I don't even want to talk about it. That's a horrible subject. That makes me feel guilty. And by the way, the goal of today is not to make you feel guilty. You've got family for that. You don't need me. The goal for today is just to say, if there's something better, are you open to it? The goal, honestly, because really it's more about me than it is you, because I'm really important in my world, is to challenge me and say, man, is this something you need to be better? It's something I've been working on for the last 6 or 8 months specifically, and trying to find a rhythm of life where I could find more health for me because I love the people around me. A healthy me is the best gift I can give them. Here's some of the reasons that people have told me they don't do this thing called Sabbath. Here's the first one, and you may agree with all of these or none of them. I don't know. It's your world. I'm too busy. There is just no possible way. I have got so much going on in my life. Get it. I understand you may be a lot more busy than I am, but I totally understand too busy is a challenge. Here's a second one. This one's just people being really too honest. I can't do that because I'm not allowed to tie my kids up anymore. Well, maybe not anymore. I'm not allowed to tie them up. How would I do that? I talked to a lady this week, single mom, 2 young kids. And she's like, yeah, you can preach that sermon all you want to. You find time. If I can find time to go to the bathroom, it's a miracle. I don't know how that would ever work for me. Get it? That's not an unreasonable thing. Third one is I'd go crazy. If I turned off my electronics, if I had to be still, if I had to just rest, man, if I don't stay moving all the time, I'd go crazy. I get it. I got some of that going on too. That 8-second ability to focus, see, I lost it right there. That 8-second ability to focus, I experienced that too. How about this one? I tried it and it just didn't work for me. I gave it a shot. It was just like awkward, weird. I get all of those things. Those are the why nots. I'm busy. I'm not allowed to tie my kids up, so I could do it and go to get people come visit your house for that. I'd go crazy, or because I tried it and it didn't work. Here's some whys why you should. Because you're too busy. Because I'm too busy. It's why when people say they can't, it's because I'm too busy. If you're too busy, you're too busy. If you can't find time to rest, think about the statement. If you can't find time to rest and reflect and refresh, you're too busy. Well, it sounds easy. I'm not saying anything sounds easy. I can't think of anything that sounds more difficult than this discussion, but I am saying it ought to be an alarm going off in our head, a red flag waving that just says I am too busy. The second one is I'm not allowed to tie my kids up. That's why you need to do this. Because, man, as a parent, the best gift you could give your kids is a healthy you. If you love your kids, instead of trying to give them everything they've ever wanted, can I just tell you what they need? They need you. They need you in a sound mind. They need you spiritually challenged. They need you not rushing through life. Sometimes we're rushing to get our kids everywhere so much that we can't be anywhere with them in the moment because you're too busy, because you can't just tie your kids up. Because of that, we need to do this. The third one is because you'll go crazy. And I would just say the reason you should do it is because you'll go crazy. We live in a crazy world, and it is becoming so embedded into our minds. There are unhealthy rhythms of life, and they will drive you crazy. Crazy, not like, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Crazy like you lose your ability to see what's most important. And the last one is, I need to try. I tried it, it didn't work. Can I just say, success is in trying again. It is in over and over repeating. All the things, I was going to make a list of all the things I was great at the first time I tried them, and I did, and there was nothing on the page, because this is one of those things that is difficult. It is difficult to be good at it. I'll just tell you this, one of the reasons for a lot of us it's difficult is because we're trying to spend time with God, and it is difficult to spend time with someone you barely know. For so many of us, we've never done that. All of our God life has been, I'll go to church and listen to some guy puke out what he's learned. I'll listen to something I'll watch a YouTube, I'll grab whatever device I have, and that's the way we spend time with God. It is somebody else doing the work and us just soaking it in. Nothing wrong with that, but if that's all it is a very awkward thing. It is hard to spend time with someone you barely know. It's also hard to know someone you've barely spent time with. And the reason we do this, and the reason it gets easier over time, is because spending time with someone, the relationship with God is meant to be a relationship. I don't even know what that means. I don't even know what that looks like. I know you'll never know until you do. I can tell you about falling in love, or what love is like, or what a relationship with somebody else is like, but all it is words until you experience it. And once you experience it, you find that it becomes real, it becomes functional in your life. If you're in a spot where you say, I just don't see any way, I don't even know what that would be. I'll read you one more thing out of this same book that I thought was interesting. For one person, they said, here's some things they do. I thought rather than tell you what I do, I'd tell you what they do. They said, here's things we do. We sleep in. We relax. We try to spend time in Scripture. Hey, if you haven't done it, grab a Bible. Maybe that would be a new thing for you. It would be meaningful for you. Pray. We eat our way through the day. We enjoy nature. We go for a walk to the park, sometimes on a light hike. We spend time with close friends and family. Here's things we don't do. This is one person's run at it. We don't buy or sell except for food, because we love to go out for brunch and ice cream. We don't touch or open our email. We don't post anything on social media because typically we turn our phones off. We don't run errands or catch up with stuff around the house. We don't talk about things that are heavy or sad or divisive. There's other days of the week for that. We don't talk about things that we need to get done. We even rest from the thought of work. We don't watch or read things that make us want more, because on the Sabbath we have enough. Just some ideas. I don't know what that would be for you. The way Sabbath was first intended, God blessed a day, and He said, here is a day I want to give to you. And for some of you go, how would I find 24 hours? And can I just say this to you? That's the way. You need to fight for that. I need to fight for that. But if you can't start there, like a lot of other things in life, can I just challenge you? Start somewhere. Don't just say, I can't. Can I give you a couple things? Don't become legalistic about it. I grew up in a church where there were so many rules, and even when we talked about this, here's what you can do, and here's what you can't do. Hey, you find a way where you and your world, or your family if you have one, or your setting, and God can connect, where your body, your emotion, your mind, your spiritual world can be reconnected and healthy and refreshed. You find the way. Make your own rules. You don't have to live by mine. Find what works. If you can't go 24 hours, start. If you can find 1 hour, find 1 hour. If it means, hey, I put my kids to bed and I turn off all the stuff and for 1 hour, and you're probably going to find that in 1 hour I about went crazy. You're going to need to keep trying. And then commit to this. If I can find 1 hour and it works, then I'm going to try to fight to keep getting better and add more till it makes me healthier. For me, sometimes I really struggle with 24 hours straight, so I often do this. I set aside time in the morning on my day off, and I often take in good things. I often try to just abstain from the ridiculousness of the world. I kind of have to hide out and shut down, put the blinds down, keep myself focused. For some people, one thing will be really restful, and for somebody else, that might be a horrible thing. Find what works for you, but start. Don't be legalistic. But on the flip side, don't just say, well, that's just how I am, because that doesn't work either. Push yourself. Don't underestimate what God could do for you in that time. It's called the Sabbath. He said, remember the Sabbath in the Ten Commandments to keep it holy, to keep it set aside. He didn't just give it as a good idea. It's not meant to be just ignored by us. Maybe just the thing you need in your life that would bring some happiness and fulfillment and purpose to your life is a little bit of health that comes from that. I'll just finish with this. We said the word finished is the reason that he stopped creating is because he was finished. The reason he rested is because he was finished. It was done. All the way over in the New Testament, there's another "it is finished" when Jesus came and he said, my work here is finished. He didn't mean his life was finished. He meant that I came here with a goal, with a mission, and my mission is finished. He came to bring life to people like me and you who needed it. The thing that keeps most of us from buying into what God says around something like Sabbath, do it and it'll help you, is that we often believe that it just doesn't make that big a difference. If we believed it, we would do it. We kind of just write it off as one of those things in the Bible that's weird and move on without it because it really causes us a lot of extra time, effort, energy to figure it out. It doesn't fit into my schedule. If we really bought it, we would really buy it. There's a pride piece in me sometimes that just says, I don't think I need that. And that's just pride. That says, I can do life just fine the way I'm doing it. That's just pride. Part of trusting God says this, I can't. Are you pretty good at saying I can't? It drives me nuts. When other people say they can't, I'm like, I may not have done it yet, but it doesn't mean I can't, because if other people can do it, I can do it. I can't's one of those hard things to say, but I'll just tell you, when you come to God, for you to follow Jesus, for you to follow him in a relationship, you have to start with the words, I can't. For some people, that's what keeps them from following God. It leads them on their own way. We're so prideful. We are so built in our own little image that we say, I can't, I'll just work hard, I'll pull myself up by my bootstraps. But here's the truth. There's a lot of life that you can never live the way you were created to live it. You can't. Without God, you can't. And then there's this amazing saying, if you can ever learn the art of I can't, it's the second piece of that, you can. It is saying to God that I can't, but that's okay because you can. And it finishes with this, so I think I'll trust you. When God says, this is what you should do, to say, I can't do life the way it should be done without giving God the focused attention that he needs. He is asking for you to just pay attention to me. I can't, but you can, so I think I'll trust you. By the way, you may be watching this today, and in your life, you have tried so hard to find some level of meaning, some level of hope, and you may be running on empty right now, and you're like, I don't know what else to do, Chris. I have been through so much. I've carried the weight so long. And this is what Jesus said. He said, if you'll come to me, if you're tired or worn out, if you'll come to me, I will give you, here's this word, rest. Because what I will put upon you is light, and I'll be with you. You bring it to me, but when you come to him, you know what it is? It says, I can't, but you can. So I think I'll trust you. Maybe today is the day that you need to go to God and accept the gift of he can. But you can't accept the gift of he can until you admit that you can't. Oh, that's really close to home. And for me, one of the hardest things is to wake up every day and say, I can't live this day the way I should live it. Outside of God's help for me, I can't. But he can. So I think I'll trust him. Hopefully this week, you'll find time for him. You may be surprised how well he can if you'll trust him. Have a great week.